Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Damia'S binti Ahmad Syari AKHMAR. I am chairman of Villa Emas Neighborhood Watch.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is ATHIRAH binti AZMAN. I am the secretary of Taman Villa Emas Neighborhood Watch.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is NAJIHAH binti ZAINI. I'm treasurer for Villa Emas Neighborhood Watch.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Syazwani binti MOHAMAD SHAMSUL KAHAR. I'm the member of the Taman Villa Emas Neighborhood Watch.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is MAHSURI binti ZAIRUL FAIZI. I am the member of Taman Villa Emas Neighborhood Watch.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to all of you. First of all, I'm glad to welcome all members to the committee meeting of Villa Emas Neighborhood Watch, which I trust will prove profitable to us and our neighborhood. We shall now proceed to item number 1, which is apologies for absence. So, Ms. Secretary, is there any apologies for absence?
Yes, there are 2 persons who were absent today, which is NAJIHAH and IAZI.
Okay, Najihah and IAZI. Okay, thank you, Ms. Fatin. Now, let's move on to item number 2, which is minutes of last meeting. I now call upon the secretary to read the minutes of the last meeting. Ms. Fatin, over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Chairman. Let me just summarize the main points of the last meeting. We began the meeting by approving the fund for renovation of Surau Hidayah in Taman Villa Emas is 2,000 ringgit. After briefly revising the fund for renovation, we move on to a brainstorming session concerning only 50 residents that allowed to perform prayer at Surau Hidayah at one time. You will find a copy of the main ideas developed and discussed in this session in the photocopies in front of you. The meeting was declared closed at 10:30 a.m.
Thank you, Ms. Fatin. Is there any amendment to be made?
Excuse me, Ms. Chairman. For item number 2 in the minute of the last meeting, the fine for renovation of Surau Hidayah in Taman Villa Emas was wrongly recorded as RM 2,000. The correct amount for the fine that need to be recorded in the last meeting is RM 20,000.
Thank you for correcting me, Ms. Farhana.
Is there any other correction to be made?
Excuse me, Ms. Chairman. For item number 3 in the minutes of the last meeting, the total number of residents that allowed to perform prayer at Surau Hidayah was wrongly stated as 50 residents at one time. It is actually only 30 residents that need to record in the last meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Wani, for correcting me.
Okay. Okay, is there anybody else who want to add regarding our last minutes meeting?
No, Ms. Chairman.
Okay, can someone propose that the minutes be passed as a to record?
Excuse me, Ms. Chairman. I propose that the minute be passed as a true record of the business deal with the last meeting.
Any seconder?
Excuse me, Ms. Chairman. Yes, I second the motion.
So, I declare that our last minute meeting is true. So, I will sign our last minute meeting. We shall now proceed to item number 3, which is matters arising out of minutes. So, has anyone have questions or comments to make?
I would like to inform that last year's collection of donation had an extra.
Excuse me, Ms. Fatin. Can we know the amount of the last year collection?
there was about 1,000 ringgit.
Okay, thank you, Miss Fatin.
Excuse me, Miss Chairman. What do you want to do with this money?
I think we can use this money for our next agenda. Okay, is there anything else?
Excuse me, Ms. Chairman. I wish to inform the meeting that multi-purpose hall had been installed beside the playground. Our residents can use it for any activities or any occasion that involves residents.
Excuse me, Miss Syazwani.
Yes,
May I ask you
yes.
when the multi-purpose hall will be fully completed?
The preparation have almost 90% done. At 10% is on progress and will be ready in 2 weeks from now.
Oh.
Thank you, Miss Fatin and Miss Syazwani. Let's proceed to item number 4, which is special business. Well, as all of you aware, lately, daily incidents of armed robberies had resulted in high anxiety and concern among the residents. In the previous week alone, 4 robberies and 6 attempt break-in were reported. So we are here today to discuss 3 ways to improve security in Taman Villa Emas. So, is there any proposal to be made, MAHSURI?
If you ask me, Miss Chairman, I tend to think that we need to have back our security guard service in our residential area.
Any seconder?
Excuse me, Ms. Chairman. I second the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Syazwani. So, let's put this into discussion.
Thank you, Miss Chairman, for giving me an opportunity to discuss more about this idea among ourselves. The reason why I need the security guards back because it will be a lot of benefits by having them. The first one is they will help us to look on our house during day and night, which is for 24 hours. This will make more difficult for the burglars to predict where they will be at any given time. The second one is they have the ability to arrest anyone who trespasses on our property. They are not police officers, so it qualifies as private person arrest. And the last one is they are quick response. If there is anything happen in our residential area, they act as the first responders and try to control the situation until the necessary have arrived. Any questions?
Excuse me for interrupting. For the past few years, the security guards are no longer in service, as majority of residents refuse to pay for the cost of hiring security guard. Thus, how can you convince the resident to pay for the security guard for this time?
Good questions, Ms. Farhana. Thank you for asking. As we know, before this, we already have the security guards, but the security guards are no longer in service because majority of residents refuse to pay for the cost of hiring the security guards, right? So, in my opinion, for this time, majority of the residents will be agreed to have back security guard service in our residential area, as lately we receive a lot of complaints about the incident of robberies that happened in our residential area. So, I am pretty sure they will be okay to pay the security guards for this time as everyone thinks about their safety.
Excuse me, Ms. MAHSURI, how much exactly cost needed?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chairman. I think the cost will be 1,800 ringgit per person for a month. That means we will charge the security guard 60 ringgit per person for a day. I might think that we only need 6 security guards, so that there will be 3 shifts in a day, during morning, evening, and night. There will be 2 security guards and one shift.
Miss Mahsuri, how can this guard help for the residents?
Thank you, Ms. Fatin, for the question. As I said just now, there is a lot of benefits by having the security guards. I would just like to repeat that they will help us to look on our house during day and night. This will make more difficult for burglars to break into the house. Then, they quick response. If there is anything happen, they will act as the first responders and they will help to control the situation. Lastly, they have the ability to arrest the burglars who trespasses on our property.
Excuse me, Miss Mahsuri, may I know what are the actual work scope of guide that can improve the security of Taman Villa Emas?
Thank you, Ms. Syazwani, for asking me. So, the work scope for the security guards are they need to make sure, the work scope for the security guards are they need to make sure that our residential area is in good safety. They need to make a round for every 30 minutes in our residential to make sure there is no criminal activities happen. Then, they need to make sure that every person who entered our residential area have a sticker in their car that state resident Taman Villa Emas. This means every car needs to have a sticker so that the security guards will be alert with that. Lastly, the security guards need to do a report and submit to the chairman about the cars in and out the residential area and what had happened for every day. So, the chairman will get to know about the activity happen in our residential area. I think that's all from me. Have I made that clear?
Thank you, Miss Mahsuri. So, is there anybody else who would like to ask a question to Miss Mahsuri?
No.
Okay, now let's put into vote. So, if you agree with Miss Mahsuri, please raise your hand. Okay, we got 5 votes into this motion. So, this motion is accepted. Is there anyone else who would like to propose?
Excuse me, Ms. Chairman. I would like to propose to give a talk to residents to create awareness about how to improve the security for our residential area.
Any seconder?
Excuse me, Ms. Chairman. I second the motion.
Thank you, Mahsuri. Fahana, Miss Fahana, can you explain more?
Okay, let me explain more detail about this proposal. Since our chairman has a lot of experience on how to improve the security of residential area, I think our chairman can give the talk. It will help us to minimize our costs. We can make it mandatory for each house to send a representative to attend the talk. During the talk, we also can give extra tips on how can the resident improve the security for their house. For example, do not keep the extra set of key under doormat or anywhere that's easy for burglar to find them. And make sure to lock the door and every window in their house properly.
Excuse me, Miss Fahana, can you enlighten me with how are you going to make residents gathered at one place during pandemic COVID-19?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Chairman, for the question. Due to COVID-19, every representative of house need to wear a face mask while attending the talk. Before the representative enter the hall, our committee will check the temperature and they also required to write their name and telephone number in the book provided. They will also sit at a distance of 1 meter from each other.
Excuse me, Miss Farhana. I would like to ask you how we want to make sure that the people who are involved with the talk will follow the SOP.
Excuse me for interrupting, but in my opinion, I think that we should put one of our members to guard at the entrance of the hall to make sure that all residents follow the SOP.
Exactly. I agree with Miss Wani's opinion.
How about the cost?
Okay, thank you for the question, Ms. Patel. Since this talk will be given by our chairman, we just need the allocation for food and drink. The allocation for food and drink approximately RM 200. Is there any other question?
No.
No.
Okay, thank you to Miss Farhana. Shall we put this to a vote?
Yes.
Can you raise your hand if you agree with Miss Farhana? We have 3 votes for the motion and 1 vote against it. So the motion is carried by a large majority. Therefore, the motion is passed. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to propose a proposal?
Excuse me, Chairman. I want to propose my idea. May I?
Yes, you may.
I think we need to install CCTV in every street corner of our residential area.
Any seconder?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I second the motion.
Thank you, Miss Fatin. Okay, Miss Syazwani, you may proceed with your idea.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With the CCTV, it can allow us to monitor the surrounding of our residential area from the cat house. Let's say, if we put it on every corner of the street, it's easier for the security guard to monitor our residents. With the presence of CCTV, it is enough to detect potential criminals and prevent burglars in our residential area.
Wow, your idea is interesting, Miss Shazwani.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Ms. Syazwani. Up to a point, I agree with you, but I think it will require high allocation. Hence, how can we get the allocation?
Don't worry, we can collect the fund from the residents. Each household must contribute their money for this installation.
Excuse me, Miss Syazwani, how about the cost?
Oh, I have done some research before. The estimate cost for a CCTV is around 1,000 ringgit. So, we need at least 5 CCTV to be installed since we have 5 streets in our resident area. So, the total budget will approximately around 5,000 ringgit, and I'm very sure with this budget, the CCTV was very high in quality and give us benefits in the future.
Sorry,
I'm
Miss
sorry,
Syazwani.
Mr. Shazwani. I think it's hard to find the fund as it needs high cost. If we need to collect the money from the residents, I don't think they will make it.
Excuse me, Ms. Chairman. I'm agree with Ms. Patel.
Yes, Miss Chairman, I am agree with Miss Fatin and Miss Farhana.
Okay, everyone, let's put this into a vote. Will all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, we have 3 votes against the motion and 1 vote for the motion. The motion is carried by a small majority, therefore the motion is defeated. Is there anybody else who would like to propose an idea?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I think that we need to improve the lights in every house.
Any seconder?
Excuse me, Ms. Chairman. I second the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Farhana. Okay, Ms. Fatin, can you explain to us with more detail?
Thank you, Ms. Chairman. I think that burglars often prefer to target neighborhoods with lower residential density. Street lamps are not the only way to do this. We should ask that each resident to turn on their porch lights in the evenings and install motion detector lights in the backs or sides of the house So, potential intruders don't have the darkness to hide in.
Excuse me, Miss Fatin. Up to a point, I agree with you. But how can we make sure that the residents will give their cooperation toward us?
We can compel them if they won't do it. We can encourage them to give us cooperation.
Excuse me, Miss Fatin, it's a good idea, but in my opinion, turn on the light will also increase the electric bills, and I'm sure that most of the residents will not give their cooperation to turn on the light at their house.
Yes, I am agree with Miss Farhana. I am sorry, Miss Fatin, but I don't think that they will give their cooperation towards us because this idea will increase their electric bills. In my opinion, I don't think that I agree with Miss Fatin's idea as we also got the complaint that toddlers inside the house during day. It means even during day, the burglars are brave enough to enter the house even though people can see them.
I think I can agree with you.
Okay, everyone, let's put this into a vote. Will all those in favor, please raise your hand. So we have 4 votes against the motion. Therefore, the motion is defeated. Let's move on to the next proposal. As a chairman, I would like to propose a proposal that we should organizing citizen patrol. Residents that participate will patrol our neighborhood at night until early in the morning. They will be patrolling according to timetable that assigned to them. Any seconder?
Excuse me, Miss Chairman. I second the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Fatin. Any question?
Excuse me, Miss Chairman. Do you think that there will be a participant to join this citizen patrol?
Thank you, Syazwani, for your question. Considering this is about safety of our family, everyone needs to tolerate and sacrifice in order to achieve harmonious and safe environment in our neighborhood. Therefore, every resident who is eligible need to cooperate and involve in this program.
Excuse me, Miss Chairman, may I have a word?
Yes.
I would like to know that
Yes,
they will be paid or not for participating citizen patrol.
Thank you, Ms. MAHSURI, for your question. I will say for teenagers that only age 18 until 23 years old, we will reward them RM10 ringgit for each person per night, so that will encourage them to participate and do their best in patrolling. Regarding about budget needed, the wages payment for the teenagers approximately cost RM 1,400 per month. Apart from that, we will also provided torchlight, fluorescent green safety vest, and two-way radio transceiver that approximately cost RM 800.
Excuse me, Miss Chairman. What range
Yes?
of age that will we participate in this citizen patrol?
Thank you, Ms. Fahana. I will say men age 18 years old and above.
Excuse me, Miss Chairman. How
Any
can
question?
this thing be effective to improve security?
Thank you, Ms. Fatin. Believe me, I do a lot of research and I read a lot of article and newspaper about this, and I confidently see that by organizing citizen patrol is actually helpful in improving our security by reducing crime rate in our neighborhood. Residents that participate become more familiar with our neighborhood when they are patrolling and are better able to recognize suspicious activity and notify the authorities immediately. Moreover, This activity will increase sense of security among residents. The effect of petrol in increasing residents' sense of security might best be examined by means of extensive observation of changes in the crime preventive behavior of residents. And this will raise awareness on how important to prevent crime in neighborhood among residents.
Yes, I have to agree with Ms. Chairman. That was actually a good idea.
Okay, shall we put this into a vote? Please raise your hand if you agree with the motion. Okay, we have 4 votes for the motion. So the motion is carried unanimously. Therefore, the motion is accepted. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to add anything?
Excuse me, Ms. Chairman. I would like to add my point that we should install security system which is alarm.
Any seconder?
Excuse me, Miss Kemen. I second the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Mahsuri. Ms. Fahana, you may proceed with your idea.
Thank you, Ms. Chairman. Now, let me explain slightly in detail about the installation of security alarm. In its simplest form, an electronic alarm system is a low voltage electrical circuit with sensor on entry door and window. When a door or window is open, each sensor detects the interruption in the flow of electricity and trigger a warning signal such as siren or strobe light. Installing a home security system means to protect your home and valuables and to keep your family safe from potential breaks by burglars. FBI burglars rate of homes state that 1 in 3 homes without a security system will fall victim to a burglary as compared to 1 in 250 homes that do have a security system.
How cost needed? Is it high cost?
Thank you, Ms. Fatin, for the question. Each house only need 1 alarm, so I estimate in RM 10,000 the allocation required for the installations of a security alarm.
Excuse me, Ms. Farhana, but I think the cost is too high. I don't think that all the residents willing to buy this because it is not necessary to buy.
Thank you, Ms. Syazwani. We can fine for the fine, and once we get the fine, we will distribute the fine according to the cost for the alarm for each house.
Excuse me, Miss Farhana. I am sorry, but I think I agree with Miss Syazwani. I don't mind think the residents are willing to pay for thousands ringgit just only to buy alarm to put in their house. I know the functions of alarms are very good and high recommended for security system, but we also need to think that not everyone in our residential area effort to buy it.
Okay, excuse me, Ms. Fahana. I think when it comes to money and fundraising, it takes a very long time to find someone who wants to donate to the society and not to mention to achieve fundraising that we want. For now, I think we better find a solution that we can implement in near the future.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Chairman.
Okay, everyone, let's put into a vote. Will all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, we have 4 votes against the motion. The motion is carried unanimously against the motion. Therefore, the motion is defeated. We shall close the discussion and proceed to item number 5, which is any other business. So, is there any other business to be discussed?
Yes, Ms. Chairman. I would like to suggest that all residents and visitors are advised to check their body temperature at the guardhouse before entering the resident area during the pandemic COVID-19.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Syazwani. I will bring this motion to our next meeting. Is there anything else?
Me, Ms. Chairman. Since the multi-purpose hall is already usable, residents can use the hall to do leisure activities such as playing badminton.
Thank you, Ms. Fatin. I will bring this motion to our next meeting and we'll discuss it in our next meeting. Okay, now let's proceed to item number 6, which is date and time of next meeting. The next meeting will be held on 29 October 2020 at 8:30 a.m. in the Merbau meeting room. Okay, that seems to be all the time that we have today. And we shall proceed to item number 7, which is closing. Can someone propose to close the meeting?
So, let me summarize the main points before we end our meeting. First point is having a security guards service. The second point is give a talk to residents to create awareness on how to improve the security in residential area. And the last point is organizing citizen patrol at night until early in the morning according to timetable.
Is there any seconder?
Excuse me, Ms. Chairman. I second the motion.
Alright, thank you guys for coming and I now declare the meeting is closed. Bye. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Bye.